share also the beginning here because we are doing some little bit of announcements. So welcome today for this virtual lunch meetup. We are at November 30th, so this will be our last event for this year. And on that note, let's quickly introduce ourselves. People that have visited our meetups from before, they know this stuff. My name is Jan Vidar. I'm working at Evidi, an MVP in security. I have been part of this Azure user group for a little bit over a year now. Anders, you can introduce yourself.
Yeah, Azure MVP, been a part of this user group as well for quite a while, and trying to push Azure tech and having fun for 9 years now.
Said that he will be a little bit delayed today, so we will see if we can get him in later.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's we. So this is our end of the year now. We have done a lot of events this year. I have a quickly summary slide on that coming up. This year we have really been organized in how we are doing our community meetups. So we have physical meetups quarterly at Microsoft offices. We have regional around in Norway. We have virtual lunches like this and so on. And we provide a new platform for new speakers as well. So this is some summary data I have for this year. Our meetup group where we organize our events, we have now 2,367 members. That's up 455 from the beginning of the year. That's really great, and we are really happy about that. So thank you all that have joined our meetup group this year. We have had 25 new speakers, 25 speakers in total, distributed on our regular meetup events like physical or virtual lunches. That has been 16 different speakers. And we also had 9 speakers involved in the events we had last May. And of those speakers, in total, 8 had never had a session before. So that's also good. So providing speakers a new platform to engage in the community. So we've had 3 in-person meetups. We had 9 virtual lunches. We had 3 different global Azure events, and we also had some sponsored regional events, like for example, the Microsoft Build Watch Party. What's one of the regional events? That was something you organized, right, Anders, in your local town?
Oh yes.
Oh yes. So we will look forward to next year. We will once again try to support Global Azure 2024. We have just registered to be part of that. So we are looking for sponsors. If you on this call work at a company that want to provide a location or help facilitate an event during the days of April 18th and to 20th, that's a Thursday, Friday, or a Saturday. If you want to do something around that, and then please contact us, and we will help you get it set up. We will use our platform, like the Meetup group, to announce the events. We will use our Sessionize to help getting speakers and plan the agenda. But you will run the event like the location and any food or refreshments or something. And that's a great way to share the Azure knowledge all around Norway. Last year we had 3 different cities. We had my hometown, Sarpsborg, we had Oslo, and also we had Kristiansand. And we will really look forward to having other cities also this year. So please reach out. More on that will come as we engage with the community. So looking forward to 2024, we will continue with our year wheel, årshjul in Norwegian. So we will we have already planned our first physical in-person meetup, and that will be January 18th. And then we will continue doing virtual lunches, as you can see on the screen there. We will have events supporting Global Azure in April. We will have a spring or summer meetup at some time, May, June, I don't know. And we will probably also have 1 or 2 meetups in person at the autumn and or Christmas. So that will come in details. And we will support regional meetups like watch parties or other things as they come and we announce them. So that's for next year. And regarding the first event we've already planned, we are very happy that Sparebank 1 in Norway is sponsoring our first meetup. That will be actually Wednesday, the 17th, not the first day, 18th, which I had on the previous slide here. And that will be in the offices of Sparebank 1 in Oslo, Sparebank 1 Utvikling. And we will have a great session there on a vending machine for Azure landing zones, developed and presented by Sparebank 1 themselves. And we will also have a session from Microsoft there. So on that same subject. So we're really looking forward to that, and that meetup is already announced and published at our meetup page, so you can sign up for that now. We've just cleared our decks. We had a lot of great sessions submitted to us on session nights, so now we just found it the best way was to just clear our decks. A lot of the sessions are still great, could have been used, but we wanted to provide a new fresh start. So those of you that have submitted, we are very thankful for that, but we are now starting at scratch again. But this link will still work. We will use the same URL. So if you want to contribute at virtual lunches, at meetups, and so on, please submit your session on Session Nice. And we will make sure that you have a good chance to be included for next year. And with that, I think we can just have some practical info. We are well started now with the virtual lunch, so we will probably do around 45 minutes in total today. This will be not a typical presentation today. We will just have a chat. So please, I will follow the chat. So if you have any questions, you can either raise your hand, come on mute, bring your camera on, or you can ask your question in the chat, and we'll try to see it as we go along. We will share this recording on our GitHub presentation and the recording on the GitHub repository we have, and the YouTube channel for the recording. So with that, I just want to give a big welcome to our guest for today. Gregor, you can introduce yourself with a few words.
Cool, thanks Jan Vidar. Yeah, hi everyone, my name is Gregor Suttie. So I am an Azure architect at a company called Intercept in the Netherlands. As you might have guessed, I'm not Dutch, from my horrible accent. So I'm actually from Scotland, and I've been doing Azure for about 4 years. And Jan Vidar asked me to come on to present to you guys and have a chat, so we can just have an open chat about the highlights from Ignite that I was at like a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. So that's a little bit about me. I have a development background, and then I moved into doing Azure. So I've kind of got infrastructure background now as well, and I do a bit of data as well. So I kind of do most things. Yeah, that's me. Thanks for having me.
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks for coming. So I think we can just start with. I did place some placeholder slides here for things that might come up. Let's start with what I stopped you talking about right before we started the event. So both you, Gregor, and Anders, you had the opportunity to be there in person. So I would like you to share something about the event.
Anders, do you want to go first, or?
Yeah, well, I can try. First of all, I was a bit excited to go because the feedback they got from last year was that it was a bit messy and not that good of an event. But this second time they were in the new convention center part in Seattle, the Summit building, and that works really good for having events like this. And there was about 3,500 attendees, and it never felt really crowded, except when we were going to pick up some swags and stuff. That was, of course, long lines, but I guess they will solve that for next year. But yeah, no, I had a really good event, great keynotes, great breakouts, and also the opportunities to actually connect with the product teams, the product owners and the managers, and actually be able to deep dive discuss things in Microsoft Azure for my sake then was really great. So without diving too deep into all the awesome tech announcements and updates, I think that summarizes the event quite well for me, at least.
Yeah, so I went to the one last year, and it wasn't very good for several reasons. The venue wasn't as good as this one. There was the same number of people. But what I felt last year was when you went to a session, the speaker wasn't really hanging around at the end to go and speak to and ask questions. There wasn't really product team people kicking about to go and ask questions. It felt very like they hadn't really ran an organization an event for a while. The kicker for me was the start of it, where they had this area called the hub, where everyone kind of gets round the kind of main entrance part, and then they build up the atmosphere, and there's a big countdown. And then we're about to announce Satya coming on, and basically came on in 2 screens and wasn't there in person. So some people had travelled from like Australia and New Zealand to come and see this, and hopefully meet or even see Satya present live, and it was on telly recorded. So that was a bit of a kicker. And then last year as well, they also said no swag, which, you know, people want to go to conferences and get t-shirts and swag and stuff like that. We all do. We're all geeks at the end of the day. So that was 2 kickers straight away. But they also had the venue where they had speakers around the outside of kind of the actual. So if you think of a square, they had speakers all around the outside. You couldn't hear them because there was no microphones. So the layout last year wasn't the best. So this year they were in the new convention centre, which is pretty much right across the road from the old one. As you can see there on the right-hand side, there's different levels. So you could get 3,500 to 4,000 people in there, not too bad. It didn't feel that busy at all, to be honest with you, apart from one or two lines. As Anders had said, the queue to get into the keynote actually went round 2 different floors, so it was the largest queue I think I've ever stood in. That was quite funny. But the event itself was really good, and it was really good because you could go and speak to product team people and ask them stuff. Like you could find someone or find an area where the team were. So like the Visual Studio team, he would be over here, or the Azure team, some people from Azure would be over in this corner, and you could go and ask them questions, which is good. There was also an Ask the Experts area, so you could go and ask experts in all sorts of different tech areas. How do I do this? Where can I find in more information? Can you show me a demo? That kind of stuff was quite good. The sessions themselves, I think a Microsoft event tries to do, what they have is 100, 200, 300, 400. So 100 is basic, 400 is deep dive. They try and do 300 to 400 sessions, but it doesn't really ever get that far, I don't think. They don't ever really go deep. I always find that they try to go deep, but they don't really ever manage it. I don't know what you thought about that, some of the sessions, Anders, but sometimes they just don't go deep enough for me.
No, but it is also difficult to go really deep in a breakout session because you have to cover all. But I'm not sure if they had these sessions last year, but the discussion sessions
No, they didn't.
It was quite good this year, because then it was a bit less people in the room. The product team came without too much preparation. They had some roadmap slides and some feature slides describing what the product did, and from there it was all up to the audience to actually dive in and discuss topics. So, for example, I was on a session with the messaging team, and they went to a technical level which was way beyond my competence, right? If there was a layer, if it had a layer 5, we were probably on level 500 instead of 400, right?
Cool.
So it was extremely deep. So the opportunities was there, but I guess I heard from a few others that the preparation before going there was important to be able to catch those really deep dive discussions if you wanted them, definitely.
Yeah, that's a good tip. Actually, you need to be on the ball. I'll give you another example. There was a community area where you could meet the senior Azure networking people.
Yeah.
That's like Mark Wisnovich and then Brendan Burns and all that. And I don't think too many people knew about that. So I was standing there waiting on them coming up, and it was like 4 or 5 people who have just presented on stage. They're just standing, chatting, getting your photograph taken, talking to like these people, and no one knew about it. So you definitely need to do a little bit of prep up front and make sure you don't miss out on these things.
Yeah, definitely. I was staffing in the area when Mark and the guys came up, and they were more or less alone together with the rest of the senior vice presidents.
Yeah.
So we were just hanging there and talking about life instead of tech, right? So so that was definitely a thing that could be better announced, for sure.
Definitely. Yeah. So the venue, big improvement from last year, I thought. Really, really nice. Yeah, the queues weren't too bad. The food was okay, conference food. Level of sessions, pretty good. Yeah, next year I think they said they're going to change it. Now I don't know what they meant by that, but I did hear a rumor that they might be going to somewhere else. So maybe not Seattle, which would be interesting. Let's say, I won't say anymore, but I think it might not be in the same place next year because I think they want to get bigger. They keep getting asked why is it only 3,500, 4,000 when AWS is doing 40,000. So yeah. They've been asked about this quite a lot, and apparently I heard that Satya's a little bit annoyed that it's still only 3,500, 4,000. He wants to go back to 40,000. But the problem Microsoft have is the carbon thing where they're trying to cut down people flying. So they've got a big problem about flying staff to somewhere like I don't think it'll ever be in Florida again. That's one thing I can say. I don't think it'll ever be there again. Not in the near future anyway. So we'll see.
Yeah, most definitely.
So it was 3 days this year? Was it
well,
3 days?
Last year
4
they said
days.
3 days, right? Last year they said 3 days and it ended up being 2.
Yeah.
The Friday you couldn't actually go into the building. It was online only. That was another kicker. Imagine traveling all the way around the world to get to something and then they say, by the way, you can't come into the building on Friday. It's online only. And you're like, that doesn't make any sense because they sold it as 3 days. So this was 3 days again this year, but it's kind of like 2.5 really.
Okay, yeah.
The Friday's like a couple of sessions in the morning and then one in the afternoon and then that's it, finished.
Yeah.
And it's always weird because lots of people fly home on the Friday early, so the number of people on the Friday at the venue is like half of what it is Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah, but there was quite a good amount of people that showed up for the final keynote together with Mark as well on Friday. So
his sessions are usually brilliant. Yeah. Goes into a lot of detail. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was great. I thought it was a lot better than the year before. I would definitely go back to it in the same venue again. I thought it was good. It's a nice place, nice venue. Yeah.
So the feeling is that they are improving the experience, and
yeah, I mean,
after a little bit of messy start and some difficulties after Corona, it looks. If you compare it to last year to this year, and maybe some expectations for next year, we can think that it still will improve.
Yeah, definitely. I think that if you look at AWS's thing that's on just now, it's in Vegas with like 40,000 people. That's where they need to get to. Because Microsoft customers are starting to say, well, how come AWS is doing a big event and you're not? So they're going to have to do something about that because they're getting slated for it. So cross your fingers that maybe next year it might be in Vegas and it's 40,000 people, but I'm not sure. That would be awesome.
Yeah,
that'd be really cool. Because the tickets sold out really fast this year. That was the other thing.
Yeah, it took 1 week or something, and everything was sold out.
If you work for a company and you need to ask for permission to buy a ticket, by that point you're probably missed out.
Yeah.
So that annoyed quite a lot of people. There was a lot of people I know who were like, "Can you get me a ticket?" And I was like, "No, they're all gone." So FYI, next year, if you're going, just try and get a ticket straight away. If it's the same place and the same size, try and just buy one, and then hope and pray that your company pays for it. Yeah.
Yeah. Hope and pray. That's good. One last question about the event itself before we can move to something content related. I think also you both mentioned it, but the community contributions here for you guys and other MVPs or other community experts. It was in the Ask the Experts area mainly, and I think also there were some help with the demos and sessions. But was it other areas? Most of the sessions and the breakout sessions was presented by Microsoft itself, right?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Anders, what were you doing?
Sorry?
What were you working on? What bit were you doing?
I was mostly on the community booth on Thursday, and
Okay.
then I tried to just chime in where I could, helping out and connecting with the product teams and making a good experience for those who was there. So I had a few hours on the community sticker booths. So we shared out a lot of stickers and talked about how to engage in the community and being a part of the community, and also how to contribute, right? So it was a bit surprising how many people who did not know about communities. So as an MVP, I think that's one of the things we have to bring with us back to make sure that we are even better on telling people that the technology communities exist, and that you don't have to be a specialist in the field to actually connect up with people who do sessions like the ones we do in the Azure User Group Norway, right?
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Yeah, I think we all live in our own wee tech bubble, and we forget about people who aren't in the tech bubble so much. Yeah.
So one of the things that brought with me is how to reach an audience that are outside of my existing network, right?
Yeah.
It is difficult, but not impossible.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was an email went round to the MVPs to say, would you like to take part in the Ask the Experts area? So I signed up for that and got assigned to a booth. So it was me and two other people, and we were doing Visual Studio Code. So that meant that if you had any questions or wanted to see any demos about anything to do with VS Code, then you would come up and then speak to us. So that was good fun. I managed to show a lot of people GitHub Copilot chat. A lot of people had no access to that in America because they work for banks and they work for healthcare and things like that. So lots of these people didn't get access to that. So I showed them GitHub Copilot, which is good, but Copilot chat is even better. I don't know if you've not seen that, then definitely try and check out GitHub Copilot chat, because they can write your code, they can write your tests, they can write your documentation for you, which is pretty cool. But that was good fun. Loads of people coming up and asking about that. That was good. My only problem was I was supposed to be a team of 3, and yeah, it was mostly me on day 1, so I was there for the full day on just asking like 5 people, trying to keep them all entertained for 8 hours. It was quite a long day, but it was still good fun. I would definitely do it again.
Perfect. That's a good point you mentioned there, Gregor, that the accessibility to Copilot is it's a bit restricted now, because we hear everything about it, but not everyone can use it. But start using it with GitHub. You can start for free and sign up for trials, and it's really accessible. You can also easily try it in GitHub code spaces. There's some learn modules on that. So it's a great way to start learning about what Copilot can do for you. But it's more related to code though, but still you get the experience.
So, but to go in on Azure a bit, one of the things that I found interesting was how all the videos from Microsoft did not end with, for example, we had a video about Fabric, or a video about Copilot, or a video about something awesome AI stuff. Instead of having the end logo on that video with that product's name, it was Microsoft Azure. which was the logo on all the announcements. So they really tried to get out the message that Microsoft Azure is actually the enabler for absolutely everything that happens within Microsoft.
Yeah.
So, so I think that being in the field of Microsoft Azure and building solutions on Azure is definitely the place to be if you're into Microsoft technologies these days, because it is the core of absolutely everything. So I think the next year as an Azure consultant and an Azure user is going to be really interesting.
Agreed. Different world coming up, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Big changes. Yeah, I felt like we were at the start of the era of AI, they kept calling it, and it did really feel like this was the next big thing. Yeah, I know it's all marketing spiel, but I think everyone's job who does Azure and even anything to do with Azure is going to change in the next, well, it'll be interesting to see what the next Ignite's like compared to where we are now. I think there'll be a big difference what we're doing. Yeah.
Definitely.
So there were of course a few announcements at Ignite, something that might have been known before that got into public preview or GA or something, but also something completely new that we didn't know about from before. So what are your main main news for this event that you think is really important related to Azure?
Do you want to go first, Anders?
Yeah, feel free.
Okay. For me, I went to a lot of the product groups. So before Ignite, what you see is as an MVP, you get invited to lots of meetings internally where they demo all this stuff before you go to Ignite, so that you know a lot about it before you go. The key things for me were Copilot, all the things. I think there's now 13 Copilots. So there's 13 different things. And interestingly, they admitted that they're all written differently by different teams. I thought like there'd be a team that write Copilot for this and a Copilot for that, and it's not. It's individual teams are just kind of putting their own Copilots together, which was quite interesting.
So yeah, they were even announced a Copilot for Azure.
Yeah.
So you can sign up. You can sign up just now to get try and get access to the public preview of that. I have some reservations about this, and I'll explain why. So if I deploy, let's say I have a customer and I deploy infrastructure as code. So I write Bicep or Terraform to deploy resources. I'm interested to see what this can do, because I've saw a demo where the customer's like, please stop this VM, and I'm like, I don't think it's going to actually stop the VM, but it's going to give you the script to do it or the ability to do it. And I'm a little bit like, I don't want to spend lots of time doing infrastructure as code to create my nice infrastructure, and then someone comes along and says, Copilot, create me a VM, because that's not best practice. That's not going to meet the naming conventions.
No.
Do you know what I mean? I have my doubts on this. I think it'll be amazing for a lot of stuff, but I still have questions because who pays for this? Like we're an MSP at Intercept, so I'm thinking like, is everybody going to have this on? Are some customers going to have it on? Can you turn it off for some customers? Do you know, there's lots of questions, but I think it's going to be brilliant because on the demo, you can see here, it's like how many VMs are still running, and it gives you the KQL. That's fabulous. Like, I love the fact that it can do stuff like that. It'll be really interesting to see what it can and can't do. I don't think it's going to be able to stop and start resources. I still think the human person needs to get the script and do it, and that's fine. Because if something goes wrong, imagine you basically you asked Copilot to stop a production VM and you cause an issue. Who's at fault? You know, this is the kind of interesting world we're kind of heading into. But I think Copilot for Azure will be fantastic, but it'll be interesting to see how people use it.
Yeah, I think the main point is it should be an assistant, right? And not take over your job and help you understand or maybe explore the usage of your Azure platform, and that will be great. But yeah, so but other than that, I agree with your point.
And I think that's the key point. They're Copilots. They're not going to do the change for you. They're just going to kind of help you, which is good. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It is definitely the first generation of Copilots that we are seeing now, but I think the initial phase will be, for example, in development and test environments, there will be a huge time saver to be able to use the Copilot instead. And also when you typically have workloads with tens of different services connected together, and doing troubleshooting, being able to troubleshoot using the Copilot instead of sitting and writing KQLs and looking at logs and stuff like that yourself is definitely going to be a huge time saver as well. And not at least for new people that are coming into the Azure tech, being able to leverage a more human-like language to learn and investigate and getting to understand what on earth is this Azure thing is definitely going to be helpful for those kind of profiles.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm not going to lie. I saw someone on Twitter yesterday got access, so they must be starting to roll that out. Yeah, which will be interesting.
Yeah. I've signed up, but I haven't seen anything yet. But
no, me neither. But I saw someone yesterday getting that, and I was like, "Oh, okay, interesting."
Yeah. Starting to better.
But I guess the rollout time will take some while because everyone wants it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was lucky enough to go to when I was at Ignite, the Cosmos DB team had a meet and greet, so you could go to their offices in Redmond, and they showed you the Copilot for Azure Cosmos DB, and it's fabulous. It really is fabulous. Like, it's just super helpful about determining things like your partition key is wrong, which is the big thing that costs people money. And how much is my query going to cost? You see that question asked a lot, and it can actually tell you that. So stuff like that's going to be brilliant. It really is going to be great. Yeah, can't wait.
Yeah, another thing that I also picked up, which is actually not AI or Copilot, is the transition from the term hybrid cloud into adaptive cloud. Did you catch that one?
No. I mean, to be honest, day one I didn't really get to do anything apart from talk to people with VS Code. So day two I felt like I was catching up. No, I didn't. I missed that one. So adaptive cloud, that's interesting.
It is. So it was a lot about how Azure Arc, together with all the new IoT operations capabilities, and how everything now is more integrated to each other, is removing that last barrier between cloud on premises and hybrid, which is still two different areas. But adaptive is like the cloud will just be there, whatever you need it, right? Running on a small hardware piece, or in a big data center, or in Microsoft's data center, or in Amazon or Google, whatever. It is just a cloud that adapts according to your needs instead of having to be at the defined spot or area. So I think they introduced that in the second keynote on day 2. I can dig it up. It is a term that I think will remove a lot of the barriers that we meet when talking about implementing cloud in environments, because it's still a bit polarized, right? Are we going to be in cloud? Are we going to be on premises? But the adaptive cloud term is kind of making it a bit less scary to start using cloud, I think.
Yeah, I think
so. I'm looking forward to see how that actually evolves.
Yeah, one of my favorite sessions that I went to was how to build your own Copilot.
Yeah.
So if you've got access to AI Studio in the portal, you can point it at your own data. So one of the things I wanted to do, the Festive Tech Calendar's coming up, and for the Ignite sessions, you could actually search for speakers. You could say, show me sessions by Scott Guthrie, and it would go away and find them using the Copilot on the webpage. And I was like, that's cool. I want to do that for my Sessionize thing that's coming up. So I was asking about this, and it's using a thing called Prompt Flow, where you can build the prompts that you can supply. So I'm going to start looking into that. But yeah, very cool. Very cool stuff.
So these are things that will probably touch us a lot of it. I think during the year that's coming, I think both you and I and other experts in the community, but also attendants here on this call, they will probably feel and experience Copilot on several fronts. But a few words about something that maybe we will not work on, but what's the importance? What's the meaning? Is Microsoft now being transitioning into a hardware company?
Yeah, it was interesting. It was an interesting keynote. They spoke at length about this, building chips.
They did.
Yeah, it's interesting that they're doing this, building their own chips now.
But it is fascinating that they actually have to start building their own hardware to be able to actually operate all the stuff that they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Maya is and CPU that are perfectly tuned to run AI accelerators and operations, right? Which is, well, with Microsoft investing that much money in actually building their own stuff, obviously is a good proof that AI is here to stay, and that it is something that we need to be aware of and be able to adopt into when needed, right?
Definitely. Yeah, I think we're all going to get tired of the words AI and Copilot for the next 12 months, maybe even longer. But yeah, we're going to have to deal with it. Yeah. I think I watched a program about a year ago about the problem with technology is the chip companies can't make chips fast enough. So it's interesting that Microsoft are now trying to make their own.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting. Yeah, it said the backlog was something like 6 years worth of chips. So you might get like the Intel Cobalt 100, for example, but they're on Cobalt 1000. They're so far ahead that the industry just hasn't got enough chips to go around, which is really interesting.
Yeah. Well,
Definitely.
I think, yeah, Anders.
No, I think we're pushing a bit on time, but
Yeah,
it was so extremely many updates. So if you haven't already, I would definitely recommend checking out the Book of News from Ignite.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Yeah, we have actually linked it as well.
Yeah, I have it here on the slide. We can also put it into the chat. So yeah.
Yeah, because there was a ton of updates, and I have not been able to get through all of them myself yet. But yeah, do check it out and figure out how it can actually be used wherever you are working. And I know the conference had a lot of AI stuff, but actually there was quite a good amount of things that were not AI as well. So if you're not a fan of AI, check out the Book of News to get updated on all the other stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one final thing that also was announced, which is not necessarily directly Azure, but Microsoft Fabric is now GA, which is fantastic news, especially for us smaller companies in Norway, because it will save us a lot of investment when having to put up end-to-end analytics scenarios. So go definitely and check that out, and don't hesitate to contact me if you want to learn more about Fabric.
Perfect. So I think we will, if anyone want to ask any questions before we let Anders and Gregor and myself go here, you can type it in the chat or raise your hand now at the end. I also wanted to as we have Gregor here, a great learning experience is coming up starting tomorrow, right?
Yes.
The festive tech calendar. So can you say a few words on what that is and why people should follow that? Yeah.
So throughout the month of December, every day we have people from all around the world creating content, videos, blog posts, workshops, and Ask Me Anything sessions. So there's about 4 or 5 every day. So I put out a sessionized thing where you could sign up and do your content. And we start off tomorrow. So that's running throughout the whole month, about 5 sessions a day, I think there is. And we're also raising money for charity. So there's a charity called the Raspberry Pi Foundation. So they raise money to give kids basically laptops and learn, so they can learn to basically write code and become developers. So that's a good charity that I want to try and raise some money for. So yeah, there's lots of content and all sorts of things, not just AI, not just Azure, any kind of tech. There's all sorts of stuff in there. We try and make it a festive theme to try and make it good fun. Yeah, there's a guy singing a song, for example, on day one. It's quite funny. Heiko always kind of does something funny. So yeah, please do check that out and let me know if you've got any feedback, because we're always looking for new speakers for next year. This year we've got 134 people speaking.
That's amazing.
Sorry, 134 sessions. Sorry, 156 people speaking. There's about 40 new people, which is great. Every year we were looking for new people. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up. That's awesome.
Yeah, and so and of course it will be a lot of stuff covering most interesting technologies, but of course also Azure and AI will be there. I myself will also be there. And you mentioned that you thought it was interesting to build your own Copilot.
I haven't got there yet.
I'm doing one of my contributions for the calendar is doing that. So I will tap into some security info because I think security Copilot will be really expensive. So let's see how we can do it by building our own. It will be a little bit more limited, of course, but yeah, it could be some interesting scenarios.
Awesome.
So stay tuned for that. So I think that we don't have any questions inbound here in the chat or a raised hand. So I think we can let people resume their daily work. I think the lunch break is over now. Thank you very much for joining us today, Gregor.
Thanks for having me.
Great. Yeah. And thank you, owners, and thanks for everyone attending. Great to have you here, and see you at one of our events next year.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Happy holidays and Christmas eventually, everyone. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.